Yeah, that's what dumb people. Go ahead.
are possible large bunkers or even extensive interconnected networks of bunkers hidden deep underground, mostly in the United States. There is extensive speculation about it on the net, but relatively little concrete evidence. Now, a large number of deep bunkers were built during the Cold War to fight and survive a nuclear war. Known underground bases include Mount Cheyenne, Mount Vernon, Raven Rock Mountain Complex, and the British Central Government War Headquarters, some of them later officially decommissioned. Through the decades, tunneling technologies have continuously improved, and by the 2000s, civilian tunnels of 50 to 80 kilometers, 30 to 50 miles, are fairly ordinary. Given enough time and money, there is no engineering reason for there not existing a large number of secret military bunkers. The system could have been expanded over several decades using classified parts of the government budget. The most obvious purposes are an emergency shelter system, network in times of political or military crisis, and a secure position from which to strike back. However, many of other reasons could include continuity of government, command and control, weapons storage and deployment, undersea bases to be reached via submarine, scientific.
You know what just happened with the Titanic? You know why I started laughing, right?
Why?
Yeah, because of the Titanic. That whole
yeah.
Like, go ahead.
Scientific research, which needs to be hidden from the possibility of exposure, hidden power sources, nuclear, geothermal, and storage of data.
Mm-hmm.
Some as Richard Sauder argue that enough infrastructure has been moved underground so as to be a restart civilization.
I just said this. Mm-hmm. I just, before you... I've never read this before, never heard of this before. I told you this before you started reading it, and here you go. Thanks for confirming. Is that correct?
After a nuclear war, i.e. a breakaway civilization.
Wow!
Yeah. Now,
and that's my budget on my salary with my extent and access to this knowledge. I'm telling you, there's a lot you can learn by tuning in. That's crazy. That's insane. That's wild. I mean, wow. I literally just said that's what's happening.
Now, NDAA 2013, Section 1045 of the NDAA.
What part of 2013 did we say?
Section 1045 of the NDAA of 2013.
Yeah, for what month?
It just says 2013.
Okay, go ahead.
And it had a focus on the capabilities of the U.S. to destroy tunnel sites in China. And the commander of the United States Strategic Command shall submit to the appropriate congressional committee a report of the underground tunnel network used by the People's Republic of China with respects to the capabilities of the United States to use conventional and nuclear forces to neutralize such tunnels and what is stored within such tunnels. Project Iceworm. In the 1960s, the United States began construction of what would be a large military facility built under the ice of northern Greenland. The plan was to establish a massive series of under-ice tunnels capable of supporting the storage, transportation, and launch of 600 specifically designed nuclear ballistical missiles. The long-term plan called for 2,500 miles, 4,000 kilometers of subsurface tunnels to be constructed and maintained. If fully realized, Project Iceworm's tunnel complex would eventually have encompassed some 50,000 square miles, the size of Arkansas or Greece, and employ 11,000 military personnel. So,
who, by the way, are disposable. That's why the high ranks will get to hide underground and they'll put their forefront soldiers out to die. You know, like, it's just crazy.
now, the program was abandoned when the ice sheets moved faster than anticipated.
That's the people that say about the world being flat.
Yeah. So now we have done pretty good on that. Let me get your feed on that, and I will.
There's nothing else to say. I have nothing else to say. I just think it's funny that I'd be on point, and I don't even I don't think it's funny because I know I'd be on point. That's not the thing. It's just a matter of when do everyone else get on point? When do everyone else get up? It's all right here. It didn't have. You can't use my money as an excuse anymore because I can't. Then I wouldn't have this access. Can I use status any different? And it's just a matter of the information is right here. We telling you what we're about to do. You're not gonna fight us because you need us. And that's just crazy. Yeah, creating a dependency where you're elsewise gonna be eradicated. If not, that's wild. You're gonna die if you don't depend on them. Yeah. At least that's what we tell you. At least that's what we tell you. Because we depend on you. And then imagine what they're gonna do with all that energy. Man, they're gonna be able to transfer so much energy from these dead bodies. It's gonna be amazing. At least for them. You know what I mean? Because they're gonna be able to fuel their systems. This is straight fertilizer. That's how we'll regrow the ground. You know, and we'll regrow the earth because we'll have the seeds that are present, and then these dead bodies will literally just fertilize the entire ground. So after it's been completely in shambles, we'll just start from the ground up for what we want to be here.
The first time I ever heard about it, I'll try and pull up the video later, but Lawrence Gardner, he wrote a lot about the Grail Kings and stuff like that, way back in the 90s or something, and he had a video out on the secret space program, and at that time I was still a very normal person, and I kind of bookmarked it in my head, but I didn't really think about it that much. And even before that, when I was a little kid, my dad used to talk to me about the potential of life out there in space and stuff like that. But I didn't know until later on why he was doing that. My dad was in the Navy, and many years later, when I was probably in my late 20s, he got drunk at Christmas and told us a story where he saw a UFO. And while he was in the Navy, and it was doing these impossible maneuvers in the sky, and my dad is a straight edge person, never talks about anything weird or out of the ordinary or anything like that, so that was a very big surprise to me. I'm like, why the hell have you never talked to me about this? And he's like, well, you never asked. I'm like, huh. And then, I started doing my own research. I came across a lot of different speakers on the topic, especially Bill Cooper. I'll also bring a video up of him later on. Spoke about it, wrote about it, and he was in Naval Intelligence. I recommend people look him up. And he had all the top secret information of the U.S. military that was being sent around the world come across his desk because they were like encrypting, decrypting the information, and he decided to keep a bunch of it and then blurt it out over his own renegade radio station, which kind of inspired me to do my radio station eventually. And he talked about seeing a big UFO like up close go from the sky into the ocean, and as it hits the ocean like parts before it even touches it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some kind of like magnetic field around it, you know, and then the ocean just like closes behind it without a splash, stuff like that. And then later on, I came across the work of Corey Good and Wilcock. What was his name? And they extensively talked about the secret space program on Gaia.com for quite a while there. And then I ran into my partner, and she didn't even believe in aliens when I first met her, or so she claimed. And then until she met me, and then when I started like talking to her about all the evidence and stuff I've seen, then she kind of loosened up a bit, and she was like, you know what, something weird did happen when I was at university. She I don't know, was doing some kind of research paper and was going through the library in Toronto, Canada, and she found these old research papers from the MK Ultra days, and she was reading them, and like they were these reports on like how these psychiatrists were experimenting on these people, and they would refer to them as him or her. And then she reckons she found some research papers that said it instead of him or her that they were experimenting on. And she reckons like her computer, like as soon as she like was accessing that database, her computer just like seized up and like basically caught on fire. The whole thing blew up.
That's crazy.
I'm like, interesting. So yeah, that's all I'll say for now. But that was my kind of intro to it all.
Carmi, do you know anything about the secret space program or anything like that?
I've watched a few documentaries, yes. Not anything I'd like to elaborate on at the time, but yeah, I've watched a few documentaries in regards to it and in the stuff that we've talked about. Not anything specific that I'd like to elaborate on currently, but...
Now, how long have you known about the secret space program?
Probably a few months. It's only been a few months. Well, besides the one that they said that Trump allegedly started, but he didn't start it. I know that. It was supposedly him that started it. It was supposedly him that started it, but it wasn't him that started it. It was President before. Actually, I want to say that it was Kennedy, but I could be wrong. Jaffe actually had a show that one of the guys on there talked about it. Jaffe didn't talk about it, but there was a visitor that was on there one day, and he talked about it.